Hey guys, DJD Reviews here, just going over my haul from TFNation this past weekend. As you can probably tell from what's in front of you, I didn't really collect or get that much, so let's delve right into it. So on entering the haul, you are presented with your TFNation souvenir magazine. You did also get a band to put around your wrist, so you could be let into other venues around where they had sort of the panel, the third-party figures on show, and into the forge. I've taken that off already and can't find it now. But anyway, so it's really good. If we go straight to the middle page, it basically gives you a rundown of what's happening over the course of the entire weekend from Friday evening through to Sunday evening, afternoon. But just a really nice professional touch for the convention. Really nice artwork there on the front, and again on the back. So yeah. So I went to TFNation. I didn't have a budget, and I didn't actually really have anything in mind in terms of what I wanted to collect overall. The only thing I did have is I had the MMC reformatted Feral Queens on pre-order from Kapow, but I'll get to those in a minute. I brought with me to sell Toy World Orion and the Orionville repaint. So I managed to pretty much within 10 minutes of getting into the hall sold those off. So big shout out to the guys that bought those, that you know who you are, and thanks very much. So I was already up on the day straight away. So my first purchase was the limited edition PS01S Sphinx from Ocular Max. Story behind this, I wanted to get hold of the original mold and even the second release of the figure, but I was just too late on both of them. And although the third release, Liger, the Diaclone repaint, is really good, it just didn't do it for me. So I was walking around trying to see if any of the vendors had Sphinx, and I went to Max and Me Love Toys, and I was speaking to James, really nice guy who I met last year on the stall, and I noticed that he had one of these limited edition Sphinxes. Basically, he had gone to TFCon in Toronto, Canada, and brought a couple of these back. Now, if we take a look at the top of the box, they are actually limited to 500, and as you can see, I've got number 65 of 500. Great artwork on the front there, by the way. So, you know, bearing in mind I had just managed to sell Orion and Orionville, I had a little bit more cash in the pocket. I decided that this was an opportunity not to be missed. He only had two, and they were the only two at the convention, so I snapped one up straight away. I'll go into reviews of this later on. I'll do another video. I have already done a written review of the figure, and I've actually sent it to Andy at Kapow to take a look at. And big shout out to Boris from ages 3 and up in Canada, Vancouver, Canada. It was his original concept in collaboration with MMC Ocular Max as to how this figure has come to be. So really big shout out to Boris and ages 3 and up. I have also sent the review over to him as well to have a look at. I will be doing a video review, but at the moment it's just in writing. So, but yeah, awesome figure. So then my second purchase was the reformatted Feral Queens that I pre-ordered from Kapow. This one also has a little bit of a story as well. So when I knew that MMC, or when I found out that MMC were going to be coming to the convention, I contacted them to see whether or not they would be bringing any of the exclusives that they had over at TFCon in Toronto. So, were they going to be bringing over the Stealth Ocular Max Sphinx, for example? And they told me that they were going to be bringing over, or they wanted to bring over Death's Head, but unfortunately they hadn't managed to finish it in time. So I just happened to suggest out of the blue in the conversation, why don't you bring over the Feral Queens? So they'd been in contact with Andy from Kapow throughout this whole process. Kapow were fantastic, managing to get Make Toys, Fans Project, and MMC involved in TFNation. And they contacted Andy at Kapow and mentioned that I'd suggested this, and lo and behold, a day later it was released that they were going to be over at TFNation with the Feral Queens. So I pre-ordered one of them and picked them up. Really good figures from the original Azalea mold. I haven't got Azalea. These are the only two of the mold I have, but I have played around with the figure. Really well articulated, lovely design. Head sculpts are brilliant, but because of the head sculpts, they are a little bit more of a pain to transform than any of the other molds. But still, a really, really, both of them are really good figures and go well with my Feral Cons. And Feral Rex. I don't have Nero Rex. Was very tempted at TFNation, but just couldn't do it. And then finally, we have Ocular Max Perfection Series Backdraft. So I wasn't intending on picking them up. I had been tempted to in the past. And again, I was at Kapow, and there were a group of us, including Andy, and we were having a play around with Fans Project Warbot 008, the three bots that combine into one. And we were having a bit of a problem trying to transform it, and because it split at the hip joint, and we were having a really hard time trying to separate it. And we were just talking about kind of like we just didn't want to put any more friction or torque on it, otherwise we thought that it was going to snap. Along came Spencer, and literally within 2 or 3 seconds he had the thing apart, and we then put it back together to try and pull it apart, and it didn't come apart. So we were like, we're going to leave it at that. And then kind of, again, just talking to Andy, just general chit-chat and so forth, I just decided there and then, because there were only a few backdrafts left, that I was, I've seen this in reviews, and I've seen Sphinx as well, and they look like real quality products. So I said, yeah, I'll take one. And they were originally going for 65, I think, at the beginning of the day. And this wasn't too long before I left, and Andy basically said I could have it for 50. So again, big shout out to Andy. Thanks for that. Really appreciate that. So yeah, that's basically my haul. Oh, but before I do go, the really good thing that I like about Ocular Max is the fact that in the box themselves, so let's see if I can get the box open, is that on one of the sleeves they actually credit the designer, the person who did the sculpt, who designed the packaging, the artwork, who took the photographs, and who did the video manual. So again, big shout out to Mastermind Creations and Ocular Max. And I've seen UNEM Studios photography work, which is absolutely superb. So big shout out to him. And also Paint for Life. I've seen several of the reviews that he does for figures, and I've seen a couple of the video reviews and instruction manuals that he's done. Very thorough. So again, that's really good on their part, kind of giving something back to the people that are involved in making the product what it is. So that's a big shout out to them and appreciation for what people have put, the work they've put in to getting this figure out to people like myself and other Transformers collectors. Anyway, so that's pretty much my haul for TFNation. I know it's not a really big haul, but I'm really specific about what I like. And I suppose the only other figure that I was really tempted to get was Pandanus from Make Toys, but I just couldn't justify the price at this time. So and I'm glad I didn't. I know at the moment I have Carnifex and Make Toys Megatron, Despotron on pre-order, and I'm going to be pre-ordering a few more figures in the next couple of weeks. So if I purchased Pandanus, then all of that would have gone down the tube really. So really happy with my haul. Again, big shout out to TFNation and the crew. Thanks very much for putting TFNation on this year. Really appreciate it. Big shout out to all the vendors and the guests who came, and yeah, big shout out to James from for getting me this figure from Maximum Love Toys, and again another big shout out to Andy over at Kapow. Anyway, this is DJD Reviews. Thanks very much for watching. Take care.